Hello Canadians, welcome to All Things Canadia, the Canadian show not about hockey. My name is Yusuf Hanna and today we're going to talk about Canada, specifically social assistance. Now, social assistance breaks down into three big things: social insurance for the elderly, unemployment benefits, and low-income assistance. Social insurance for the elderly breaks down into four things: old age security, guaranteed income supplements, registered retirement savings plans, and the Canada Pension Plan. First, old age security. Old age security is a taxable monthly payment made to most seniors to supplement income. Even if a senior doesn't qualify for old age security, they'll at least qualify for a partial pension. Some of the old age security is clawed back, so to speak, at certain income levels, but I'm not going to get into those income levels here because the numbers change constantly. For seniors making little to no other income, there's also the guaranteed income supplement. The guaranteed income supplement is a non-taxable monthly payment that's dependent on marital status, age, income, etc. So, in the 1960s, about 30% of Canada's seniors lived in relative poverty, which is, a pretty big number of seniors. So, what happened was in 1966, Lester B. Pearson's Liberal government instituted something called the Canada Pension Plan. With the introduction of the Canada Pension Plan, the rate of poverty for seniors fell dramatically. Also, with the introduction of universal single-payer healthcare systems, as well as the drug benefit plans that came along with all the provinces, seniors' first and second largest expenses were taken care of for them, and they were being supplemented with the Canada Pension Plan. Today, Canada has the third lowest senior poverty rate at about 6.7%. We already discussed healthcare in a video that I'll post a link to in the description down below, but we haven't talked about the Canada Pension Plan. Before I get into it, you have to know that the Canada Pension Plan applies to every province and territory except Quebec. Quebec issues its own pension plan through the Quebec Pension Plan, but it operates on the same rules. I'll talk more about Quebec's status in the next video. So the Canada Pension Plan is a contributory, earnings-based insurance program. So what happens is every Canadian over 18 years of age has to contribute into the Canada Pension Plan, and their employer has to as well. And all of this money goes to providing seniors who now collect their pensions with their pensions. The Canada Pension Plan is administered by Human Resources and Skills Development Canada, and it runs on a hybrid of a fully funded and a pay-as-you-go system. What the CPP has can't pay for all its obligations in the future, but through something called the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, it can keep contributions from rising. The Canada Pension Plan is funded entirely by contributions from employers and employees, as well as from the earnings made from the investments with the money thereof. Benefits are calculated based on the entire working life of the individual. However, portions where the person is making lower income due to disabilities or child rearing are usually dropped from the calculation. The next portion of Canada's Public Senior Assistance Program is the Registered Retirement Savings Plan.
Basically, what it does is it defers the taxes until when you withdraw the money from the RRSP while you're a senior, and the money that you put into the RRSP isn't taxed, and the earnings that they make, so if you invest it into a GIC or a stock, that money is not taxed when you withdraw it. RRSPs were introduced in 1957 in order to help seniors, plan for retirement. One thing to remember when we talk about Canada's seniors is that Canada's population is aging ever so rapidly. Soon, Canada is going to have one senior for every 2 workers in the country, and unless we want to cut benefits to seniors, there are 2 things that we can do. The first one is that we can incentivize work for seniors so that seniors work longer and they can make more money. The second is to bring more immigrants, more young immigrants who can work for longer and provide for the seniors that are already living in the country. The next social program we're going to talk about is fairly uncontroversial. It's unemployment benefits. Employment insurance benefits are extended to people who have lost their jobs through no fault of their own, so either for layoffs, seasonal work, or people who live in an area with a shortage of work, or to maternal or parental leave, or for illness leave, or for compassionate care leave. Conditions for receiving employment insurance benefits generally are income and insurable hours worked in the last 52 weeks, and usually benefits are 55% of income, up to a maximum of $501 per week. The period of benefits generally ranges from 14 to 45 weeks, depending on the number of insurable hours worked in the last 52 weeks, as well as the unemployment rate in the area. Now, for mothers and parents seeking leave, there's 15 weeks that are offered to the mother exclusively, and 37 weeks that are split between the mother and father. So there is potential for a mother to take 52 weeks off to take care of her child. The last thing I'm going to talk about today, and perhaps the most controversial, is low-income assistance, which is sometimes called in parts of the world welfare. Until the Great Depression, social programs were virtually non-existent unless they were offered by religious or philanthropic institutions. But with the Great Depression came the reforms of the Great Depression, and so the first thing that was born of it was low-income assistance. Franklin Delano Roosevelt once said, "The test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have little." Currently, low-income assistance is administered by the provinces, so benefits and conditions vary widely, but I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about a very controversial idea that I want to share with you guys.
Until last year, something existed called the National Council of Welfare, which was dismantled by the Harper government, but until it was dismantled, the NCW supported something called a guaranteed basic income. The idea is that the federal government, through a negative income tax system, guarantees to every Canadian citizen and their dependents a livable wage.
In order to explain how this works, I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. Let's say we call the minimum livable wage for a family of four $10,000 with a reduction rate of 50%. I'll get to what that means in a minute. A family with an income of $0 would get a benefit from the government of $10,000, which would bring their total income to $10,000. Now, you're thinking to yourself, what if a family made $6,000, for example? Would that family only get $4,000 to top them up to $10,000? This is where the reduction rate comes in. What the federal government will provide is the continuation to $10,000 plus 50% of income. So the benefit for a family making $6,000 a year is the $4,000 of $10,000 minus $6,000 plus half of $6,000, which is $3,000. So their total income would be $13,000. This incentivizes people to work as well as providing a livable wage for everyone, and it would be administered through the federal income tax system, which is already a reliable bureaucracy. The money given through the negative federal income tax system would have no strings attached. It would simply be a cash transfer to a person in order for them to survive. And you can completely get rid of the welfare system. The welfare system that was supporting the poor, there are no longer people who cannot survive using their wages. The NCW proposed that if only $12 billion was contributed to a guaranteed basic income, at least $24 billion would be saved in healthcare alone, seeing as at least 20% of healthcare costs are directly attributed to poverty. And I'm not suggesting causation here, but the fact is a number of people in prison are poor, and if we had less poor people, there would be immense savings in correctional facilities and in policing because these people would no longer have to commit crimes in order to survive. In contrast to these numbers, $16 billion are spent on corporate welfare each year, which are basically business subsidies to support job creation in the much failed trickle-down theory. Canada's current poverty rate, including dependents, is about 12%. And what the guaranteed basic income would do is extend to everyone that is not a senior what seniors already have in the form of a guaranteed income supplement. It would get rid of all of the red tape of poverty, and it would allow people to simply survive using their wages. Many people will say that if basic income is guaranteed, many people will simply stop working and take advantage of the system. But there was a study on Dauphin in the late 1970s called Mincom, where basically the government guaranteed basic income to everyone in the town. And what happened was only 3 groups worked less due to the guarantee, and they were the elderly, mothers with young children, and youth. The elderly, by working less, saved the government money by not requiring expensive health care due to excessive stress on the body. Mothers who stayed home saved the government daycare costs, and youth staying in school gives Canada a stronger society for the future. In my personal opinion, I see no downfall, but I'm open to ideas, so please let me know what you think in the comments. More than 20 years ago, something called Campaign 2000 started, which was a campaign to eradicate child poverty by the year 2000. And this signaled hope for a lot of people, but unfortunately today, 1 in 10 children still live in poverty. The surprising number, though, is that 1 in 3 of those children has a working parent in the family, and they still don't have enough. And if we move to First Nations reserves, that number jumps to 1 in 4. Recently, there's been a movement in Canada called Idle No More to highlight the problems on First Nations reserves that are being ignored by the federal government, and I'm really hoping that it goes somewhere. So, we talked about social assistance for the elderly, low-income assistance, and unemployment benefits. I want to hear your thoughts on these issues and any other issues you feel passionate about. I'm going to do a grab bag video at the end of the season, and I want your suggestions, but so far it's looking like it's going to be a video on Canadian culture. I'm also especially interested in your thoughts on the guaranteed income to the poverty line idea, because I strongly believe that a society's strength is not in the lifestyle of its rich, but of its poor. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something, and Internet, I'll see you next week.